Okay, the San Luis Obispo Railroad Museum has two broad categories of things. We have the exhibits, which are the things that are out for people to see, and that would include the locomotive and cars on the display track itself, the outdoor signals. Indoors in the freight house we have tools and equipment, other signals that are smaller. Those are all things that are out there for people to look at, in some cases to climb on and go into, to learn about Central Coast railroading. They're also preserved because they're historical artifacts. The other broad category is the collection, and those are the things that the museum owns in trust for the public as a nonprofit organization. And there are many things in the collection that are not out for people to view. Sometimes things are rotated from the collection out to the exhibits and back. But there are many types of things that just aren't suitable for people to be out and using directly. And that would include the research library and the archives. Okay. The library includes items that are mainly produced by entities that are in the business of publishing things, books and magazines. So we have an extensive collection of books on the railroads that serve the Central Coast, Pacific Coast Railway, Southern Pacific, Union Pacific starting in 1996, Amtrak starting in 1971, and some of the smaller railroads that have been around a long time, such as the Santa Maria Valley Railroad. The books are filed by our own filing system, our own catalog numbers, which we invented because basically everything we have is on railroad history, which would be just one number under some of the bigger filing systems that are used by libraries. So as an example, within Southern Pacific, we would have books on their locomotives, their freight cars, their passenger cars, specific trains such as the Daylight or the Lark. We have books on parts of the Southern Pacific outside the Central Coast, such as the Donner Crossing of the Sierras, the Sunset Route into New Mexico and Texas. And we have items that have broader scopes than just the Central Coast, things that were important in railroad history throughout the country, such as the Pullman Company, locomotive manufacturers such as Alco and EMD, the General Motors diesels. The library items, with very few exceptions, can't be checked out and taken away from the freight house. People are welcome to use them here and make photocopies for things that aren't subject to copyright. And we can always help find an item if you're looking for it. The general outline of the filing system is posted on the end of this set of shelves here. But it's set up so that if you know generally what topic you're interested in, you can come to that part of the shelf and browse and see what we have.
Great.
Okay, the archives include things that were largely published by the railroads themselves as internal documents. The employee timetables, the rule books, the plans for their facilities. It also includes the photos, many of which weren't taken by the railroads, but they're organized the same way by railroad and then by a topic within the railroad, such as specific trains or specific locations. As with the library, we have our own numbering system for the archives. Generally, it's a 4 or 5 digit number with a decimal point, and then to the extent that we've cataloged the separate things, each separate piece has a number after the decimal. The listing of the archive filing system is in this white binder. The emergency instructions. Heaven forbid we ever have a fire or flood or earthquake that damages things. The emergency instructions are in the red binder. And several things around here, both books and archival items, have a red sticky dot on the container that they're in, the box or the drawer or the shelf. Those are the things that are to be saved first because they're likely to be the only ones in existence as far as we know. And we have a few of those types of things. Many of the things we have are duplicated, by other organizations such as Southern Pacific Historical and Technical Society or the Railroad Museum in Sacramento. But we have a few that, as far as we know, this is the only place they exist. Gradually, we're doing the detailed cataloging and scanning and photographing items, including all the objects that are out on display. So we'll have a searchable database, and you can see what we have and what it consists of and where it's located.